A pleasant day, my fellow delightful trailblazers. Another day, another lesson na po ang ato ang itakal karon. So by the way, I am Sandara Kayla M. Damamag, your teacher for today, and I am going to discuss Chapter 7, Principle and Strategies of Teaching and Designing IEP for Learners with Difficulty Seeing, Hearing, and Communicating. Alright, so this topic is very important and most of all, relevant sa atuang program. Kay syempre, as future educators, it is expected na maka-encounter tang mga students nga nagkalain-lain sa usab-usa. Mga students nga naayapan, like learners with difficulty seeing, hearing, and communicating. So, it is important nga makasabot or makabaluta sa mga different strategies kung unsaon pag-handle ang mga estudyante nga naay kondisyon sama niini. Alright, so first, we have here suggested attitudes for beginning teachers. So, kani siya maoy mga suggested actions nga buhaton sa mga teachers nga baguhan pa lamang sa pag-handle of students with disabilities. Alright, so first, make a background check. In the beginning of the school year, make sure to make a background check of all your students, including their talent, skills, and medical conditions. Preparation will help reduce half of your classroom management issues, as this will help you identify the kind of learners you will be having in your classroom and plan ahead in developing an accommodating and accepting atmosphere inside the class. So, kung ang teacher kay naka-check na sa background and all sa usa ka student, kabalo na dayon siya unsay mga angay nga i-prepare nga learning materials nga fit sa needs sa iyang mga students. Alright, we have here second, establish rapport. Let your learners know that you can be trusted and that you will not harm them. Determine routines and prepare them in your teaching styles, sequence of lessons, and types of classroom evaluations. So, diri nga technique imong ipa-feel sa imong mga student nga masaligan jud kanila, nga dili lang kanila maestra, pero ikaw po di ay kay gasilbing ikaduhang ginikanan sa ilaha. Alright, so third, we have here, adhere to the people first policy. Look at every learner with individual skills, talents, capacities, and limitations. Disability is just one characteristic that makes classroom diverse, along with gender, religion, ethnicity, IQ score, language, ambition, behavioral patterns, and a lot more. If learners do not learn, look at other variables such as their interest, classroom condition, instructional materials, time of the day, lesson difficulty, learner schema, teaching strategy, and other things. But not isolate the learner's condition as the main reason of failure. Teachers should also be seen as a main model in the creation of an accepting classroom atmosphere, so as not to tolerate labeling learners based on their condition or skin color, or even and most especially just for fun. So fourth, we have here, treat them as you treat other regular students. So, this goes with providing them with an educational atmosphere that is as fair, respectful, and supportive of them as it is for other students. Buot pasabot niini, kay kung unsa ang imong pagtagad sa mga normal nga estudyante, dapat maudya po ng imong pagtagad sa mga students nga naay disabilities. A teacher should treat them as a normal student despite their situation. Like, dili ra kaayo magpalabi sa pag-treat sa ilaha differently. Kay posible nga mahitabo manggod ana kay makafeel ang uban regular students na ginapaboran nimo ang student nga naay apan. So, remember na ang inclusive education dili lang ni siya para sa mga students nga naay disabilities, kundi para pud kini sa tanan klase sa estudyante nga makafeel sila nga included jud sila and they are seen and treated equally. Alright, So we are now done with the suggested attitudes for beginning teachers. Let us now proceed to the educational approaches. In response to the diverse needs of learners in the classroom, it is apparent that teaching strategies should also be diverse. So, tungod kay naay nagkalain-lain nga panginahanglanon ang mga bata bahin sa edukasyon, aduna pud kitay lain-lain nga mga approaches or techniques sa pagtudlo sa mga students nga atong ma-provide ang ilahang needs. So first, para sa mga students nga naay blindness or learners with blindness. Alright, so teaching learners with difficulty seeing are done through the use of non-visual senses such as sound, tactile, and manipulative materials. So one example is Braille. So alright, Braille is a tactile reading and writing system and is a primary means of literacy for learnership who are blind. It consists of letters, numbers, punctuation marks, and other systems arranged in raised dots as seen in the figure below. So makita ninyo na adara ang Braille. So second, we have here Braille technological aids. These are materials that develop Braille system made readily available to those learners with blindness. So ang isa ka example ani kay ang Braille note. Alright, so next to that, we also have here tactile aids and manipulatives. Alright, so these are materials used to describe objects on the world around us. Example of this is Cuisenaire rods developed by Belcastro on 1993, where learners with blindness can quickly identify different values by feeling the lengths and tactile markings associated with each set of rods. Alright, so we're now done with the educational approaches. Let's move on to the different types of tactile books. So, experience book is based on the learner's experience, such as attending birthday parties and field trips. These books help develop the learner's language as they explain the contents of their experience book. Alright, so second tactile book, we have here the object book. It is a book containing real objects taken from the learner's activities, such as baking, where some materials are pasted on each page of the book. This book introduces tactile learners to read as they move on to more abstract levels like tactile symbols or Braille. So next to that, we also have here the routine book. It is an organizer of learners' classroom activities where step-by-step procedure is done, turning one page to the next, so routines could easily be established. So after each activity, learners are taught to remove an item attached to the book through Velcro and place it in a box to indicate that an activity in the routine was already accomplished. Alright, so we have here the last book, which is called the theme book. It is a book that focuses on an area and is used to supplement instruction on a particular topic, such as demographic information, regions in the Philippines, flags, and others. Alright, so we are now done with the different tactile books. Now, at this juncture, let us now move to the expanded core curriculum. So, aside from learning Braille and other assistive technology, other skills are taught to learners with blindness through the expanded core curriculum. So, this curriculum includes orientation and mobility, listening skills, social interaction skills, independent living skills, recreation and leisure skills, and career education. So, orientation is about knowing where you are headed and how to reach a place with the use of information available in the environment. While on the other hand, mobility refers to the ability to move safely and effectively from one place to the next. Alright, so we also have here the listening skills. It must be developed since learners with blindness obtain information by listening. A widely held misconception is that people who are blind automatically develop a better sense of hearing to compensate for their loss of sight, but they don't have heightened sense of hearing compared to their sighted peers. Alright, so functional life skills include cooking, personal hygiene, and grooming. Shopping and transportations are skills needed before learners reach adulthood. Alright, so these skills are taught in the expanded curriculum for learners with blindness. Alright, so we are now done with the learners with blindness. Let us now proceed to the learners with low vision. So, for students nga halap ang mga mata or low ilahang vision, naapod tay mga suggested materials nga ilahang magamit para makakita ra sila or mabetter ang ilahang pananaw. Alright, so first, we have here the optical aids. These are the most famous aids used by the learners with low vision, where professionals such as ophthalmologists and optometrists assess, treat, and recommend these aids based on the visual needs. Alright, so some optical aids include glasses, contact lenses, handheld telescopes, and magnifiers. So second to that, we also have large print materials. So these are books, handouts, and most especially visual aids posted on the board should be readable by all the learners in the classroom. So large print materials are printed or handwritten with bigger font size, legible font size with wider spacing. So below are commonly used large print sizes for handouts and other reference materials. Nakikita ninyo dara. Alright, so next to that, we also have here the classroom adaptation. Classroom lighting is important for learners with low vision. Additional lighting can better assist learners who find it difficult to read compared to their peers. It is also recommended that the learners be given freedom in choosing their seats in the classroom. Alright, so next to that, we have here for the learners with hearing impairment. So, these learners have different levels of hearing loss, and the residual hearing can be intensified by modern technology as listed below. So, alright, naabot tayo suggested objects nga pwede magamit sa mga students nga naay hearing impairment. First, we have here hearing aids. So this device was developed to improve hearing of those people with difficulty hearing. Its volume and tone could be adjusted to fit in the needs of its user and can be worn in either one or both ears. So next to that, we also have here the Assistive Listening System, or ALS. ALS work as amplifiers directly connected through a radio link from the teacher to the learners. So it reduces the unnecessary noise or background sound for the learners to stay focused only to the speaker. So next to that, we have here the cochlear implants. So this is an electronic medical device surgically implanted to provide a sense of sound to learners with severe to prevent hearing loss. So, however, it does not restore or create normal hearing, but can only give useful auditory understanding of the environment that can help a person learn speech. So, next to that, we have here the sign language. I guess mauni siya ang pinaka-famous or pinaka-known among other techniques para sa mga learners nga naay hearing impairment. Filipino Sign Language, or FSL, is a national sign language of the Philippines. So, it has its own grammar, syntax, and morphology that are based on manual hand signals supplemented by body and facial gestures. So, alright, FSL is not the same as American Sign Language and is neither based on Filipino or English. It has no written systems and is governed by purely visually motivated grammatical devices found in non-manual signals of the face and body. So, we have here mga objects no, nga gamit para sa mga na-hearing impairment ng mga students. Naatay hearing aids, assistive learning, a listening system, cochlear implants, and last, Filipino Sign Language. Alright, so aside pud sa akong mga na-mention ganina, naapatay other suggested techniques for students with hearing impairment. So first, we have here the oral or aural approaches. So this approach views speech as essential if learners with deafness are to function in the hearing world. So this approach trains learners to produce and understand speech and language with auditory, visual, and tactile methods of input. So next to that, we have here the auditory training. This is commonly given to young learners with residual hearing to get them acquainted with sounds. So the 3 levels of auditory training include detecting, discriminating, and identifying sounds. So next to that, we also have here the speech reading. So this process is done through retrieving spoken message by paying attention to the speaker's lip movements, facial expressions, eye movements, and body gestures. Alright, so this approach, however, has many limitations like faulty interpretations on the lips. Alright, so we also have here for the learners with communication disorders. So specialists in communication disorders give therapies to help learners speak in the best way possible. So these specialists are recommended to help identify, evaluate, and provide services to learners with specific communication disorder. So activities are listed below to help lessen some of the learner's articulation and phonological errors. So first, for the communication disorder, we have here the discrimination activities. Alright, so these activities are developed to help learners produce and discriminate between similar sounds like pin and bin, cheap and jeep, cheese and cheese. Activities could be done through creating stories, drawing large P and B, visualization of sounds through mirror modeling, and producing sounds in front of a lighting candle. So next to that, we also have here the vocabulary building. Specialists as well as classroom teachers use variety of techniques in building learners' vocabulary. Among these include development of graphic organizer, mnemonic, repetition, word walls, vocabulary journals, and using context clues. Alright, so next to that, we have here the augmentative and alternative communication, or AAC. AAC includes different ways of sharing thoughts and emotions to the receivers without talking. So unaided AAC techniques do not require physical aid or device such as speech, gestures, facial expressions, body posture, and manual signs, while aided ACC techniques use external device such as pen and paper and computerized voice input device. Alright, so aside from students na naay difficulty with seeing, hearing, and communicating, Of course, naapod tayo suggested strategies para sa mga learners with Autism Spectrum Disorder or ASD. Alright, so learners with ASD have difficulties with social interaction and may manifest limited use and understanding of nonverbal communication, and difficulties with social and emotional responsiveness. So kani mga bata or mga tao nga naay kondisyon sama sa ASD kay naay something sa ilahang brain nga wala na fully developed, resulting for them to have difficulties in communicating and socializing with other people. Alright, so we have here suggested strategies food for learners with autism or ASD. First, we have here the Applied Behavior Analysis or ABA. ABA is a therapy based on the science of learning and behavior with the goal of increasing positive behaviors and decreasing harmful ones that negatively affect learning. So it includes behavioral principles such as positive reinforcement and modeling that yield beneficial outcomes for learners with ASD. So next to that, we have here the Picture Exchange Communication System. The PECS aims to help learners to request things or activities from others with the use of pictures. Learners exchange picture or a symbol representing an items or activity for something that they would like to do. Alright, so next to that, I think this is the last. We have here the social stories. This is a form of visual support to learners with ASD, as social stories can explain concept, social situations, and expected behaviors of people in a format that matches their level of comprehension. Alright, so using this approach helps learners with ASD to get familiarized with a social event or activity before its conduct to lessen their anxiety and help them understand situations from other people's perspectives. Alright, so that would be all for the Chapter 7, Principle and Strategies of Teaching and Designing IEP for Learners with Difficulty Seeing, Hearing, and Communicating. So let us all remember to treat students with disabilities the way we treat normal people. Let us be united in making them feel included, seen, heard, and loved, for they are no different from us. They're human beings too, and we should be kind to them. And also, as a future educators, let us all be reminded that inclusive education seeks to address the learning and needs for all children, with a specific focus on those who are vulnerable to marginalization and exclusion. Alright, so the goal here is to promote opportunities for all children to participate and be treated equally. Alright, so that would be all. I hope you learned something.